Hello and good afternoon, Xbox Nation. Welcome to this week's new episode, of course, of the Xbox Factor podcast. I am one of your hosts, Mr. BoomStick XL. And folks, listen, we have an amazing show. We're gonna get to every topic. We're gonna be able to spend a significant time on each topic. We're down 2 members. Boxer Bear, his wife, she took a bit of a spill at home and she kind of got hurt. She's okay. They're home. She's resting. But he is going to obviously not be here today. And of course, I'd like the community to please, by all means, reach out to Archimedes on Twitter, where he's obviously very active, and just send your love and prayers to his wife, because obviously it was a very unfortunate accident, but she is going to be okay. We've been talking in the DM, so that's great to hear. And our good brother, the best looking guy. And again, once again, because he's not here, and of course I'm talking about 3-bit, we're going to lose at least 1,000 views. So thanks, 3-bit. At least. No, but he's slammed with work. Obviously, he is working in the development community, and he will be back. I believe he said after the 17th, his schedule kind of opens up a bit. So we will get him back in a couple of weeks. But it's just going to be the 4 of us, and we are going to break it down. And of course, before we do that, I want to get into the introductions and start first with the cog that keeps this show running. And of course, someone that is happy Halloween has officially ended and gone until next year. Zemi Games, what's up, dude?
I am very, very, very just ecstatic that Halloween is over. However, I am slightly annoyed. It's not Christmas time. Everyone's putting up their Christmas trees and selling Christmas stuff and all this different stuff.
It's November. It's
too
November
early.
Has become December. Nah, I don't know about that. I mean,
early.
Some people say yes, some people say no. I mean, my tree isn't up yet. Obviously, when the tree goes up, you're going to see it right behind me here. We're probably not going to put up the tree until the day after Thanksgiving. That's something that we've been doing for years.
That's what we always do.
That's standard fare. But there are some people that that are putting up their stuff now. I don't want to take away from the excitement. I love Thanksgiving because I like to eat. I'm gonna be honest with you. And Mrs. Boomstick cooks like a mofo. But yeah, I see what you're saying, Zemi. But thanks so much for being here, dude. We're gonna open up, of course, with the topic that you cannot wait to get into. I can't wait to get into, and that is, of course,
Kart Racer.
Does Microsoft need a kart racer? The answer is yeah, the damn right they do, and they need to address this problem that's ever growing. But we will get into that momentarily. Let's get into Pong Soul. Obviously, your show on Saturday I didn't get a chance to listen to. I was in the midst of doing so much stuff. But it's cute.
You're fired. You're banned.
I know I'm banned. I know, the shame on me, but I am gonna check it out on tomorrow when I'm cleaning, because I love listening to podcasts when I'm cleaning, because then by the time I'm done with the podcast, I've cleaned and it felt like I didn't really clean. So again, I'm assuming it's another banger of a show. I don't know how long it is, if it was 4 hours, 5 hours, even 15 hours, but I'm sure that it's going to be good. How are you, man? How the heck have you been?
Doing great. Just absolutely busy with real life. But you know what? I get breaks by doing these shows, and it's awesome to be here with all my brothers and talk some gaming. Sega. We got it. So we got lots of news to get into, lots of good stuff coming up. The games are flowing. Let's get down to business, Boom. I'm just happy to be here.
Yeah. Obviously, maybe you just woke up from a nap. Maybe you were under a rock. Maybe you just got internet service back. If that was the case, what he's talking about is the strategic partnership that was announced late Sunday evening, of course, which was Japan's opening morning session with news, and Sega has gotten to a deal, a strategic partnership with Xbox. Now, I want to say one of the most disappointing things that I walked away with on Sunday evening into Monday morning is how many of the Xbox community and again, no names here, folks. Everyone's entitled to their opinion. I highly disagree with some of the stuff that I read. I found it to be, again, opinions, folks. Everyone's allowed to have one, and that's cool. But again, I Boom disagrees terribly. If you were in the camp of, well, this is just a big old nothing burger, I'm not going to challenge you. I'm going to clearly say that I think that you're wrong, but we don't have to agree to be friends.
A lot of speculation town haters, Boom. A lot of speculation town haters.
But you know something? So, I agree with you, but I think that there was so much in there in such a little amount of time without having to really look. I'm not a read between the lines kind of a guy to make a statement work for me. The evidence is what it is. It's what I read last night, and which, by the way, if you missed last night's primetime gaming, besides having Everborn Saga go completely off the rails with how to wine, dine, and you know what else, Sega, you missed it. It was probably the biggest panel we've had in a while. We also had 2 monster stars that were part of the conversation. Lord Cognito of the 10K Iron Lords podcast. And one of the things I was so overwhelmed by so much going on because it was Mrs. Boom's birthday bash that I forgot to mention that he had Danny Pena on from Gamer Tag Radio, now G4, on Sunday's ILP. I mean, if you missed it, get over there and check that out. And of course, we had Special Nick, one of the hosts of the Xbox era, another channel that just hit 10K. And obviously, Nick was there. I know there was some people that wanted Nick to drop some nuggets of news that he has heard. Here's the thing, folks. The reason why I don't push the envelope on getting a guest on to give us the goods on what he or she has heard is I don't want them to come here thinking that they're here to work. They're here to hang out. They're here to be a guest. They're here to be a gamer. And obviously, Nick appreciates that. And obviously, he will be making his return when we can get our schedules together. So if you didn't hear him drop any nuggets, it's because it wasn't expected. If he would have done it, it would have been a surprise. But we had talked in the pregame, just expecting him to come and just hang out and give his opinion on Sega, which he's a huge fan of. But let's get into last and no way least. This is probably the busiest man outside of Pong that is in the podcast gaming business, continues to put out incredible content each and every week and has added probably 3 more shows while I was sleeping. Mav, what's up, brother? How are you?
Yeah, only 3.
Only
3.
Excellent.
Yeah. What's up? Hey, yesterday was a really cool day. You know.
Yes.
It was a lot of fun, and you had a great show.
Thank
it was
you,
an
sir.
awesome show.
Thank you.
I was doing things, around the house and running errands, and I just kept everywhere I go. I had to try and make sure my phone was tuned in to that show because it was awesome.
Thank you.
Yeah, but there's other stuff to talk about too. Yeah. So we're gonna have some fun doing that. And I want to say everybody in the chat. I see there are lots of awesome people here already. Thank you guys for tuning into this show. We're gonna have a great time. Zimmy and Pong are ready. Boom is ready. I'm ready. Let's go.
Well, yeah, I mean, thank you so much. And again, obviously, if you missed it yesterday, Mrs. Boom, it was her birthday. And normally I will just take off. Like, I'll just miss the show. This would have been a little bit devastating because, obviously the Sega news, but Mrs. Boom comes before anybody. She is the rock that keeps me together. So obviously her birthday happened to fall on a weekday. She got slammed at work. She actually didn't want to be bothered. So we're going to celebrate her birthday over the weekend. And what she wanted to do was add another big giveaway to our yearly giveaways. And we're going to do that now moving forward. It was Mrs. Boom's birthday bash, 6 winners, $300 worth of gift cards. I got everyone's information, got in touch with everyone, which is great. I sent money across the pond to someone that won in the UK. And of course we did open that up to UK viewers. What we do is we don't send you the gift card because it won't work. We'll send you the money in your current currency, and we usually use PayPal or something, one of the cash apps, to get you that money. And we did that. We did that this morning with one of the winners. Rick Solaris was someone that got his gift already. And of course, as soon as this show is done, I'm heading over to GameStop to get the gift cards for everyone else, and those will be in your DMs if you're in the chat listening. But listen, let's get into what I think is one of the for me, for Zemi, for a lot I might be a big game or a big topic, I should say. And the question I want to raise to the nearly 200 people that are already here, and obviously if you're here and enjoying the show, hit the like button. If you're new, of course, please consider subscribing. Folks, we're on the march. We're almost at that 9100 mark. And obviously that means that we'll be 900 away from hitting 10K, and that's going to be big. That's going to be something that I really want to do. But the question I want to ask, and I actually think it's a legitimate one. We talked about it last night a little bit about Microsoft missing some key features from their portfolio for Xbox Game Pass. I mean, listen, we're going to get into it. They just announced a bunch of games coming into it. It's one of the topics. And quite frankly, it's a banger month for Xbox Game Pass. It really is. Some really, really big titles in there. And as that service continues to grow and as people continue to sub, I think that there is a mark that Microsoft is missing. And, in the pregame, prior to us going live, we were having this conversation, and I'm going to segue into this topic, but I kind of want to bring this up because Zemi brought up a great point. Now, as we know, Microsoft has this hands-off kind of mentality to their development community, right? People that are under the umbrella of Microsoft Game Studios, they kind of do what you want, make the game that you want. And as much as I think that is a plus, allowing a team of developers to sit down, go on a retreat, and decide as a team what they want to make next. I think that is fantastic. And I'll never tell said team or team A, B, or C to chase a trend. Boom is not a trend chaser. It's just not my thing. I like originality. I like being, the first to do something. But I also don't have a problem tipping my cap to what is working, has worked, and is a proven commodity in X platform. And, Zemi, you made a great point. I mean, a really stellar point in the pregame. In fact, we could have had a 15-minute show before the show. And one of the things that you said that I found to be interesting was that mentality that Microsoft offers their developers is both a curse and a plus, almost to be a potentially an Achilles heel. Now, and I say that with all respect to Phil Spencer, who I think is absolutely the reason why Microsoft is currently looks at Xbox as an equal. It's his, original dream is what we're seeing. And the people under him, like Sarah Bond, who I think is going to be a superstar. She's already a superstar. Greenie, who doesn't love Greenie, Matt Booty, Larry, and everyone else that's, up in Redmond. They're doing the job, and they're doing a great job. But the problem is, and maybe I'm asking too much here, folks. Maybe I'm being a little bit of a, I have all the chips and I want more in the other bowl. I don't think that's what it is. But, Zemi, we've talked on this show before about an Xbox Kart, very similar to Mario Kart, not to be a copy and paste kind of a thing. I think that Microsoft can, with the teams that they currently have, specifically in Turn 10 and Playground, should potentially poll these, the studios. Now, if you're curious, I did the numbers. And they are right now Playground Games. And again, this is an umbrella conversation. This isn't, hey, team is doing Fable and team is doing Horizon. They have 400 plus employees at Playground Games. And I believe it's a little over 200 at Turn 10. Now, I'm not saying that someone from management needs to run into these studios with holding a bat in their hand and saying, listen, you guys are going to make a kart racer that's like Mario Kart, or I'm going to break both your legs. No one's asking for that. But I think that there's got to be at least a dozen, 20, maybe 30 devs on this team, on these two teams that are sitting potentially at almost 700 developers between the both of them. If you sent an internal memo and said, hey, listen, Microsoft is interested in having a kart racer, a quality kart racer that showcases their IPs, right? You put a Joanna Dark and you get people interested in potentially Perfect Dark. You put a Master Chief in there, which of course you put a You know, you put a Zombie Dom, you put a Marcus Phoenix, you put a Conquer, you put a Banjo-Kazooie, you could put a Cameo. You can really go OG stuff and threw somebody in there from, let's say, for instance, Crimson Skies, the guy known as the pilot or the captain, right? I think that it's a missed opportunity not to, but even just think about releasing a kid-friendly racer. I mean, for Christ's sake, they own IPs we can't even get platformers for. So I gotta ask, what is that actually going on at Microsoft? But I want you, Zemi, to elaborate on what you said about how it can be a curse, allowing them to go, hey guys and gals, do whatever you want, it's okay.
Yeah, I mean, I think that there's definitely really huge benefits of allowing your team's total control or a ridiculously large amount of control for what they're working on. I mean, because at the end of the day, game developers, they're creators. And I feel like the products, services, games, whatever it is that they're creating is going to be better if they're allowed to work on, IP or, game mechanics, anything, whatever. If they're able to work or make the creation something that's really, really interesting to them and something that they actually want to do, right? I think your products are going to be better for that. And I think that that's a really, really strong reason why Xbox is doing what they're doing in the sense of allowing developers to decide what they want to make. However, on the flip side of that, like what you were saying, I feel that it is a blessing and a curse at the same time, because, what that means is just because the fans want something to happen doesn't make it actually happen, right? If a ton of gamers wanted a Xbox Kart Racer, but none of Xbox's first-party studios wanted to make a kart racer, then it makes the likelihood that game could potentially come out a lot less likely. I mean, of course, Xbox could still go to a second-party studio, find a third-party studio, and contract them out to make this game. Or, of course, they could try to find some workaround, like polling all of their devs to see, hey, if anyone would be interested in working on this project, let us know, and kind of make a smaller team at one studio or so on and so forth. So, I think that there's definitely ways to work around it, but I think it's also kind of, should be something that we also think about as well, is that, it's not 100% a pro that Xbox is allowing its studios to just create whatever they want. There could definitely be situations where Xbox misses opportunities because of that, right? A game that, could, for marketing reasons, could be absolutely huge for Xbox, may not happen because none of the developers under Xbox might be interested in making that game. As far as a kart racer goes, though, Boom, we've talked about kart racers for, it seems like, a year, 2 years now. This has been a reoccurring
I think we might even
idea.
had this conversation when we had the Welsh Gamer was still a part of the Xbox Factor Pod, which
I believe.
We missed Welsh, but he's got a lot of stuff going on with the family first, brother. So will he eventually guest? Hopefully, but he's got some things going on. Obviously, he wasn't abandoned. He had to step down from the show. But we talked about a kart racer going all the way back to when he was a part of the show. That's how long we've been talking about it. So please, by all means, continue.
Yeah. I mean, we've been talking about it for a very, very long time, and I still stand by my opinion that I had so many years ago that yes, Xbox should totally do a kart racer, and for so many different reasons. First off, they have a lot of talented developers that make amazing racing games. That doesn't mean that Playground has to make this Xbox, kart racer, or Turn 10 has to make it. They could create another smaller studio under the Xbox umbrella and have developers from Turn 10 and Playgrounds consult with this smaller team, right? They have a lot of experienced developers that could help in the development of this game ultimately. But, one thing, I think it was a few shows ago, we were talking about Killer Instinct and Banjo-Kazooie and how, you know, Xbox has a lot of old IPs that we'd like to see them come back. And one thing that I mentioned, I think, was that Xbox has a lot of IPs and not enough developers to cover each of them, right? And so this Kart Racer, in a way, is a way to keep a lot of these older IPs and franchises that are still beloved by millions of gamers alive, until they're, until Xbox is able to find the right dev team or the right situation to, bring back Banjo-Kazooie, for instance, or so on and so forth, right? But I think in some ways, it also serves as a way to get a lot of really good market research data about these IPs, right? Put all of these amazing characters, from IPs that are still, active, like Halo, Gears of War, Fable now, and then also put in a lot of characters and IPs that aren't really very active right now, like Banjo and Cameo and so on and so forth. And look at and see what characters do players resonate the most with. And then now you can start getting data to figure out which characters are the most popular. So basically which games or which game characters that aren't currently active probably should, Xbox should try to make an actual standalone title for next. So you could get a lot of data that way as well. But I think the most important thing about a kart racer is, we talk about variety all the time with Game Pass, right? And variety is the spice of life, but it's also, a way to get the maximum amount of users to subscribe to your service, right? And we don't really have a tremendously large amount of child-friendly, family-focused games, right? Boom. Last episode of the podcast, you mentioned Psychonauts, and Psychonauts is a fantastic game, a game I absolutely loved. But you brought up a great point that, Psychonauts is probably not the most child-friendly game. There's definitely a lot of
absolutely themes. A game that, I see there's some people going in the chat, and again, everyone's entitled to their opinion, but there's a specific gentleman that's obviously I'm not going to shout out and embarrass anybody, but Psychonauts is a platformer. Yes, 100%. But it's a platformer that deals with some very heavy adult themes. Alcoholism, gambling. There's some more content in there that a child, it will go over a child's head. But do you want your 7-year-old playing this and learning about these addictions? The answer is, well, I'm not, I wouldn't for my 7-year-old. If you raise your kid that way, then hey, good on you, pal. But all I can say is that what we're talking about, when you say family friendly, when you make these suggestions, I equate that with what Nintendo does, and Microsoft has IPs. It's funny because, again, if you, like I was talking in the beginning, if you missed the Xbox era that just posted with Maximilian Dude, obviously he has 1.5 million subscribers for a fighting game channel. The guy is as sharp as a tack. He is been instrumental in the whole hashtag bring back KI, right? Like we know that he's worked with the studios. He did trailers for them. I didn't know all this stuff until I watched Xbox Era. But why I bring him up, why I say, if you don't want to listen to 9,000 sub Boom, you think that my opinion is irrelevant, awesome, not a problem. But if sub count is your measure of someone's, how special what they're saying is, he said on that podcast that if they brought back KI, it would behoove Microsoft to add Doom Guy, to add Joanna Dark, to add characters from their incredible roster to get people potentially interested in those IPs. And a kart racer could do the exact same thing. Zemi, you're onto something by saying that they could gauge, like, for instance, has anyone ever seen how crazy people got that when Banjo-Kazooie was announced for Smash. You ever watched any of those videos? It's ridiculous how excited people are. And Banjo-Kazooie exists in this era of gaming on another platform. Like, I'm sorry, folks. I think that's a terrible miss for Microsoft. And not having a kart racer isn't being samey, isn't biting off their Mario Kart game, which, by the way, is a rehash and has sold, I think it's like 30 million copies of the new rehash. So there's a market, but continues, I mean.
Yeah, no, I mean, and I mean, even if we want to throw Psychonauts into the child-friendly category, which I don't know, I don't think that we probably really should, but even if we did, there's still, proportionally a lot more games that are directed for mature audiences on Xbox and in Game Pass than there are child-friendly content, right? And also to kind of, revert back to what you were saying, I think it's also a great way to introduce the newer generations that are just now maybe starting to get into games about a lot of these franchises and a lot of these characters, such as, Master Chief, Marcus Phoenix, Fable, so on and so forth, all the different IP that Xbox has underneath their control. A kart racer would be a fantastic way of introducing that to new gamers, people, young kids that are just now starting to get into gaming, so that they can start seeing and recognizing all of these different brands and IP and so on and so forth. I think that definitely has a benefit in of itself for Microsoft. I think all across the board there is a lot of reasons why Xbox should do this. I think that there's a lot of benefit in it, and honestly, I want to play a kart racer on Xbox with Xbox characters. I think it would be fun. All the variety that they can do with the different cars and the characters, and then also all the different characters' special abilities and so on and so forth. I think it sounds like an incredible idea, and I think that there's a lot of benefit for Microsoft and Xbox to do this.
Yeah, I absolutely agree. Pong, let's bring you into the conversation. Look, we've had this conversation privately before. Microsoft is doing a lot of things right. In fact, a heck of a lot more than they're doing wrong. And say that they don't have a kart racer I'm not saying that they're wrong. What I'm saying is that, and I agree with Zemi here, I think it's a missed opportunity, in my opinion. Yeah. I think that when you look at, we look at Xbox Game Pass. And really is a sum of its parts, right? There's plenty of first-person dude bro shooters in there. There's plenty of RPGs. In fact, I would dare say that Microsoft is the king of RPGs at this point, with all the talent that they have. And obviously, they're getting a tremendous amount of third-party support. But at the same time, there's an opportunity with the amount of studios that they have to make some of the things first-party that they're missing. Now, we know that Killer Instinct, we have confirmation from Special Nick that, yes, it is in active development. We just don't know who's developing it. It's not the original 2. That's a fact. He mentioned that with Maximilian on that yesterday. And Maximilian confirmed that it's not the Mortal Kombat devs. It's not them either. So he has concerns on who's doing it because, obviously it is a special franchise it's unique in its own way. But getting back to the kart race, getting back to the family game that they don't have, where do you personally fall on that? Does Microsoft need a kart racer? I'm not saying to go head to head with Nintendo. They don't have to go head to head with anybody, but it would be really cool to have that kind of game where somebody that has small kids could actually play with their kids.
Well, sure. I mean, again, when we talk about need, that's a very strong word, and you can take it a couple different ways. Look, if Xbox is truly going to reach the 2 billion, 3 billion people that they've talked about, and we've talked about this so many times, Boone, you can't have enough diversity in your lineup, right? You just can't. So from a need standpoint, like need, no, not need. However, in the grand scheme of things, in their global goals that they do have worldwide, yes, you need to represent every single type of game that you possibly can, because that means you truly do have a game for everyone, right? And that's what it's about. It doesn't always... It doesn't have to be the biggest sellers. You have to cover each niche, because when somebody's looking at coming into your ecosystem or investing in an Xbox, however they're going to do that, whether it's mobile, whether it's console, whether it's PC, it does not matter at this point. However they're going to invest, you don't know what's going to grab somebody's attention. Again, when you look at other subscription services outside of Disney, because Disney is very focused on Disney properties, but if you look at like a Netflix, what they offer is something for everyone, and they have stuff in there where we all scroll through and go, who is going to watch this? What is this? Who is this for? Guess what? It's for somebody. We may not know that person, but it is for somebody, right?
Well, well, you know what? Let me just add on to that point, Pong, if you don't mind, because right now you go to Netflix, you put it on, right? If you and I wanted to, watch Squid Game, which is incredibly ultra violent, right? We could watch it and enjoy it. Which, by the way, if you missed it, it was really good. Mrs. BoomStick and I watched it in a day and a half. It was fantastic. But at the same time, if you were home and you had your daughter's friends coming over and it was going to be a sleepover, you could immediately just put on Netflix and go right to the kids section, and it's there available. Right. Microsoft cannot do that right now. Right. And what's worse is that they have the IPs to do it. They just don't have the games, and that is unacceptable.
Correct. And that's the point, again, is having this big diverse lineup means that you have to include everything, even the stuff that isn't necessarily going to be the most popular or what your main fan base is looking for, because you're trying to grab outside of that. So yes, a kart racer would be absolutely a fantastic thing. I'm never going to downplay a kart racer, even if I don't, again, even if it's not something for me, or if I play it a little bit and go, it was fine. It does not matter. There's going to be plenty of people, especially kids. We've seen it time and time again, that absolutely do love kart racers along with adults. It's a great, it crosses generations. It's a type of game that can bring families together, that can bring friends, all that kind of stuff together, because a lot of people do just enjoy the pure fun of them. And you're right, Boom, and Zemi pointed this out as well. They do have the IP, and it is a great way to advertise your IP, gauge interest in a lot of different things. So yes, from that standpoint, they can. Now, as far as who you're going to have do it, again, we've heard time and time again, we just had Matt Booty's interview where he talked about every single studio this is a creative-led, operation that they have going on underneath Xbox. It's creative led. That means that they're going to decide what they want to make. If you have nobody, and Playground and Turn 10 would be great. I've been calling for an RC Pro-Am because they do own the IP to come back from Playground or Turn 10. And we're seeing a resurgence in top-down racers, Super Circuit Stars, and Art of Rally. We've seen that return to that. I'd love an arcadey version, because those are more sim. They're very tough, actually. But I'd love to see RC Pro-Am come back. But again, if they don't want to make this type of game, right, they've already have a relationship with a third party that has done kart racers in the past, and that's Sumo Digital. You go
I was gonna suggest them. That's a great pick, dude.
Yep. You go get Sumo Digital. They did a great job with the Sega Team Racers, right? Both of them, or the two, definitely. Let's see, was Sega. What was it? Was Sega the first one was on 360? It was Sega All Stars, Sonic Racers, Sonic All Star, Sega, or whatever the heck it was. Yeah. Anyways, they both got rated very well. Both did extremely well.
Sold very well too. Yes,
exactly.
Those are great games.
Yes, and Xbox has a relationship with them. They've worked on many games together. So why not just go get Sumo Digital? Why not say, hey, here's all our IPs. Pick which ones you want to take from them. Obviously. Go create this game. So I think the opportunity is there. I think it's easily done if they are, if they are interested. If Phil and his team are sitting back and going, look, what can we add to our lineup that we don't already have? And we know Phil does this on a regular basis. Yeah. And like you said, all the studios are busy right now. They are so busy. They have more IP than they can actually pump out. So at that point, then you got to look outside. So again, that's why I suggest Sumo Digital. But yes, I think at the end of the day, if you are looking to create that gigantic, diverse lineup, and not everything has to happen at one time, but if you have the opportunity to get a kart racer done, go get it done, because you already have all of the characters necessary to create a compelling kart racer, not just a generic kart racer, not just, some random kind of thing that we just saw kind of at Sony's show that's been out before, but you have one that has an identity, that you have already these established characters that are going to draw people in, much like Mario, Mario Kart Racer and all that kind of stuff, and the Team Sonics. You have those characters in-house already. You don't have to worry about that, and you've got the content to fill it up. So go get it done. Why not? Yeah. I say why not?
I mean, listen, in the 360 version of that Sonic Racer, the first one, Banjo-Kazooie was there.
Yeah.
Flexible character.
There you go.
So,
exactly.
I mean, it can be done, and you're onto something. Both those titles sold well. I own multiple versions of it, because I actually own the second one on the Switch, because I just like kart racers. I mean, listen, sure, I'm 51, and I'll love to chainsaw the hell out of the next Gears, and I can't wait to get into some adult themed missions in Halo. Great, but I also like platformers, and I also like a diverse lineup, and I like fighters. Fighters, I have to go outside of Xbox. When you own Killer Instinct and you had a very successful 10 million plus downloads of that game, why should I go to a third party? Why should I go to another console when you guys own the IP? I get it, and Phil did answer that. He did say in that interview that they need the right team, but you're Microsoft. Find them, go, get the work done. Get out there and find the team. I don't want to hear that. Well, we're waiting. Don't wait on this stuff. Get it done, because you want to appeal to as many people. When we're trying to sell, we know that they want to sell consoles. All these developers do, right? All of these, Xbox wants to sell consoles. So does Sony. So does Nintendo, especially Nintendo, because they're very old school. But with Microsoft, it's not the decision on, oh man, if we go to make this game, we need to sell X amount of copies because we have to sell X amount of consoles. Is this a console seller? They don't have to worry about that, Pong, because they're selling subs, and
Correct.
Subs, you need to appeal to the masses.
Yeah.
It can't be just the dude bro shooter guys. It can't be the Xbox community, because you already sold us. We're in. You got to get the people that are out. And how you do that is give people a large palette of games to play that includes family games that they can play with their kids potentially. Mav, let's get your opinion on this, brother. You obviously have kids, and you have you have sleepovers. You just had one, which was pretty awesome. You put that out there, and it's when you have a bunch of kids coming over, you got to have something for them to do. And obviously, there are a lot of streaming services that offer movies and things, but Microsoft is still the only one out of the big three that offers the ability for $15 a month to play X amount of games. And there are some things missing in this whole that they still have not addressed. I mean, listen, Game Pass released in the summer of 2017. Folks, we are already getting, this is the rumor based on the Take-Two guy, 30 million subscribers. So they're selling. People are buying the subscription service. How is it that we are 4 years into the lifespan of this and we don't have this addressed? I think it's a big miss. Where do you fall on A Kart Racer?
Yeah, I definitely think they need a kart racer. They need all these things. And I'll go ahead and say need, right? Like, it doesn't, I guess when I say need, it doesn't necessarily have to be specifically an exact clone of something, right? You can have lots of different variations of different types of games that still fill that need. But Bill has addressed this himself before as one of his top things that he feels like is missing in the Xbox portfolio is those E for everyone games, right? That will attract a different type of gamer than is necessarily their main audience right now. So there's lots of ways of going about this, right? And I'm going to take all this a step further, okay? Because I agree with Pong, Zimmy, and you, but I'm just thinking about it and how to implement this in the right way, because you don't want to force all of these devs that are working on all these huge AAA projects that all just got announced, and or a lot of them are more mature themed and stuff. You don't want to take them and say, "Hey, you guys need to make this. You guys need to make that," right? Because they tried that before. They did that with Rare, and it kind of forced them to make all these Connect games and stuff like that, right? You end up kind of damaging your studios at times, right? Like, it's not necessarily the best way to go about it. So, my idea, because wha for a lot of parents, they are really, really picky about what they let their kids play, right? That
Rightfully so.
Yeah, that's if it has a gun in the game, kid's not touching it, right? Or if it has this or if it has that, they're not gonna go near it, right? And every parent's different. Every parent has the right to judge for themselves, I believe, like what they should allow their kids to play. But that's one of the reasons Nintendo is so successful, is because they feel like with Nintendo first party, a lot of times these parents are familiar. They understand, hey, Mario, Peach, and all these things, and you're like, okay, I feel safe here that there's is not going to be anything that I don't want to allow my kid to play, and I can have those titles that I know are going to be there, right? So if you're Xbox and you have this audience that's all big into the AAA, like shooters and RPGs and all these games, which we have an abundance of on the way. Like there's so much. We did the math on how many are coming. There's so many games, right? I don't want to take away from that. So my thinking is, okay, Xbox, go and start a brand new division within the Xbox family. Call it Xbox Family. Put somebody in charge, right? Like another Matt Booty or something, right? Their job is to go cultivate studios and acquire studios, cultivate smaller teams that are interested in making these types of games, and call it Xbox Family, whatever you want, right? But if you brand it that way, you can market it heavily, right?
Yes.
And that will attract a different type of audience. And then you're already doing everything for accessibility as far as the cloud. You got the Series S, which is a great console for kids and families because it's cheaper, right? You also have the Xbox All Access. You have all of these things, right? But when it comes to that offering for like that, 6, 7-year-old kid, right? There's a lot of stuff to play, but from Xbox first party, there's not necessarily as much, right? So you go and you say, all right, let's cultivate this studio. Let's cultivate this group of studios, right? Let's call it Xbox Family, a subdivision. You label the box as Xbox Family. You put the marketing out there, Xbox Family, and you invest and you make a kart racer, make a brawler like Smash. You do bring back Viva Pinata, for God's sake. Could you
Yes.
imagine like Viva, with how popular Animal Crossing is, right? If you had Viva Pinata, which was already a really popular game on the 360, and you had kept uh, entries after that and kept growing it and what it could potentially become now, right? Banjo, Cameo, you got Costume Quest from Double Fine, you could make sports and like leisure games that are more like focused on kids and stuff. And you really embrace this identity as a subset, so it doesn't take away anything that the core audience that's already there loves, right? But now we got stuff for our kids to play that are going to make them excited when they come out, right? I would really like to see that. On top of that, add the family plan to Game Pass, where you can have multiple accounts under one banner for a cheaper price and stuff like that. There's a lot of extra things they can do to kind of grow this whole family idea, and I think that's where they should go with it. Kart Racer would be the first game that I would do for sure.
I mean, I love it, and something that's a fantastic point. I never even actually thought of. Why not make a new studio that's dedicated to, or even a division within Xbox Game Studio that's dedicated to the family game? I think when you do that, you do potentially attract developers that want to work on those games. Like if you asked me what if I had the skill, and I don't, but if you asked me, Boom, I'm going to put you on a team, what do you want to do? You can be on the team that's going to make the next Gears, the team that's going to bring in the next Banjo-Kazooie, or Killer Instinct. I would be like, yeah, Gears, okay, I'll play it. I'm not worried about Gears. I wouldn't know which one to pick. I'd probably pick Banjo-Kazooie. I said, yeah, I want to be on that team because I want to make a platformer that is on the level of Ratchet and Clank. You see, this is again, I'm not saying they should be samey as Sony. Ratchet and Clank doesn't sell a lot, right? It is a bit of a niche, IP. This one sold pretty well. I mean, obviously, a lot of people that had PlayStation 5 wanted to see, what next gen graphics looked like on it, and it was Pixar level. And the thing is this: Sony doesn't have, a Game Pass. They have to sell these games. They have to move consoles because of these games. Microsoft doesn't have to do that. Phil's even talked about that. But listen, again, folks, there are a lot of people that agree, a lot of people that disagree. I hear you. If you don't agree, that's cool. We don't have to agree. This is how we personally feel. I think that it's a miss. I think everybody on the panel agrees that it is something that maybe you don't want to, quote unquote, drop the label as need. I think they need it because they're missing. They have holes in a subscription service they're trying to sell to the masses. When you have these holes, people are going to be like, yeah, they have a lot of those violent games. I'm not letting my kid play that, but I'm going to go buy a Switch because I have all these other games.
Yeah.
Right.
And
you lost the sale.
If I can
jump in
real quick.
Yeah,
I see a lot of people that say, hey, well, there's this and that in Game Pass from like this, and there's that, but it doesn't really come across to like branding wise as like a unified identity for family games because it's random stuff. It's about the image, and like Mag always says, right? Shout out to Mag. It's mind share is king, right?
Yes.
And
yes,
if you really want to put that focus out there, like we're a place for your kids as well. You have to put a brand and identity behind it, not just random stuff that sometimes people are going to discover, right? It's got to be that's the thing. It's like Nintendo is so identifiable as with Mario and Zelda and all these things, right? And if you have that identity behind it, which they had growing in the 360 era, they had a lot of that stuff, right? They had a lot of those games that were kind of developing this identity,
and it was known, and interestingly enough, Mav, it was known as the Dude Shooter Box.
Yep,
but
kids
still
loved it. There was so much stuff for the kids to play.
Yeah, 100%.
Including those Sonic games that we're talking about. There's just a missed. It's like a missed opportunity. When I understand, you got priorities, you got to do this, got to do that, got to do this. It just baffles me that this hasn't been something that they have focused on in the past as much. They kind of made a push with the Kinect, but that was all based on the Kinect because of the success of the Wii and stuff. I think it should just be a focal point for them, and not by the way they used to do it, but forcing the studios you already have to work on those things. Go out and get the other studios to do it that want to make these types of games, that have a history of making these types of games, and really put the branding behind it. Because if you do, you're going to grow your audience, especially with mobile and cloud and all this stuff. You can imagine all these kids
Viva
playing
Pinata would be literally the chef's kiss, because that's a game that requires you could do touch, you do controls, whatever you want to do, and you could play that anywhere at any time. And I agree with you. I think that Viva Pinata, if it would have been cultivated enough, could have been as big as Animal Crossings for sure. 100%. 100%. All right, folks, listen, we are 48 minutes into the show, and obviously that means that it's time for topic number 2. And we have to talk. You got my opinion last night on what this deal between Sega and Microsoft means. If you are someone that is in the socials, and you're on Twitter, you're on Facebook, you're on podcasts like these, you're out there, doing the doing the work of for the community. You might have talked this to death in the last 24 to 48 hours. You've heard what I had to say. I think it's so big that we don't realize how big it is. But I need to hear from the panel members here because we have not heard from Zemi. We have not heard from Mav, and we have not heard from Pong. And Pong, I got to go to you first on this because I think, when you talk about evidence, when you bring something into a conversation and you want to have a conversation that doesn't necessarily go your way, but you want to be able to say that what I'm saying is a relevant part of the conversation, you need to bring said evidence. And I think that there was no more said evidence brought to the conversation than when Sarah Bond was the one leading this conversation. We talked about it again last night on Primetime Gaming, how other, Microsoft is a monster company, right? Besides being now the richest company in the world, they have studio heads that handle Azure, right? They have people in charge to broker these deals and to be the front facing person to get out and said, yeah, we made deal X with deal Y company. That's not this. When you bring Sarah Bond into the conversation, what you're telling, at least you're telling me, and if I'm wrong, by all means, please prove me wrong, Pong. That this is Xbox related. If you go to LinkedIn, you see what her title is. It has nothing to do with Azure or Windows 11, but at the Windows 11 event, she was there, right? She was there talking about games, and she was there again talking about what they're going to do with Sega. What did you think of this announcement late Sunday evening?
First of all, your Hall of Fame panel last night was just absolutely phenomenal with breaking this down.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Every single one of them had the perfect points. The evidence was brought to the court, especially by Everborn in attorney mode like fashion, and it was simply broken down perfectly. Look, when this first broke Sunday night, I looked at it and I read it multiple times. I read the press release. Of course, it came from Sega because it was, obviously Monday morning in Japan. So
yes.
That's how it had broken on Sunday. I'd like to say that Xbox is trying to make Sunday night the new big news release.
Sunday night has become instead of the Monday, right?
Right, exactly. Why wait till Monday morning? Just drop hints on Sunday night. But no, this came out. So I read the press release multiple times. Obviously saw the instantaneous reaction. Oh, this is just like Sony's deal, right? This is just Azure. This is just, that's all this is right here. But there was some big, gigantic differences. The wording used, okay, well, let's first start with Sarah Bond. Sarah Bond obviously came out, tweeted. She talked about how she led this deal. Sarah Bond, a year and a half ago, if you looked at her LinkedIn, was actually promoted. She was given additional responsibilities, and a lot of her responsibilities now, she's still Xbox, not Microsoft. She is listed obviously under Microsoft because Xbox is a division of Microsoft Corp, but her title is Xbox related, and she now does handle games creation within Azure as well, right? So that's part of her new title. Was Azure was added to that list. What I think Microsoft is doing here is that they understand how important Azure servers are to the future of gaming. Azure servers overall is a huge portion of Microsoft Corporation's funds. All their income. They are pushing that huge. Obviously, their main competitor being Amazon, and then so they are battling that. But they understand that the games can be separated out because the games are so huge worldwide now that Azure marketing is separate from, let's say business marketing in that kind of from that standpoint. So I think that's why they handed her this responsibility as well, because games creation is now going to be a major focal point of the Azure servers. We've heard Phil talk about creating this cloud development environment. And I think that's what that press release to me personally alluded to, was that Sega now sees the future, and they understand the pandemic went a long ways to open people's eyes within the development community about how they have to find additional tools and resources and to be able to create these games. And it's not always going to be the old way where it's hands-on, side by side in a studio. You have to expand out. And also that the cloud gaming world is just beginning. And down the road, that accessibility that Xbox has been promoting, through xCloud, is the future of gaming. Whether we like it or not, physical media is going the way of the dodo bird. Okay, we've seen it in other industries. Will it completely die off? Of course not. There's still going to be physical media. However, the majority of people are going to consume games at some point down the road digitally. So that is a huge thing. Sega realizes this. There are the Eastern development side of things are ahead in some areas of the Western development, but also behind because they stick and cling to the old ways of development. And you see some of the older studios having a hard time struggling in this current, where we are currently within the industry. Xbox is in a prime position. Sarah Bond now with these additional responsibilities to sell Azure as a development tool is in prime position because they have their own gaming division, which is one of the biggest in the world, proving how this all works. So they are now going to become the market leaders in promoting this kind of stuff, right? So that's what I got out of this. Now, to this point of whether or not we just look at this as, oh, it's just a business deal. This is Microsoft Corp and Sega, joining forces so that Sega can get access to Azure and all the tools that come along with that. No. Okay. That's why Sarah Bond is here. Sarah, this is going to be a mutually beneficial partnership alliance, as they are calling it. And I think Wandering Dutch did a fantastic job pointing out the differences between alliance and partnership. Again, some people don't understand that from contractual terms, there can be differences when you're in the business world. To all of us, partnership alliance is kind of interchangeable, but it is a key difference because, as Dutch pointed out, alliance means that it's not just going to be a return of money given back to Xbox or Microsoft for Azure servers.
They don't need their money, dude.
They don't need the money, right? They need to show other gaming companies that this works, number one, so more gaming companies jump on Azure. So the bigger the company that you can bring on board, like a Sega, which may not be what it used to be, but still carries weight, especially in the East. Look, that means a lot to promoting what you're offering. Yes. But when you bring in a company like Sega, the cash is not important. What's important is the content. And that's
IPs is king.
Yes. Right. And what Sarah Bond tweeted out later was talking about her love of the Dreamcast, and she can't wait to share more about what's coming. That right there solidified it for me. Her tweet about the Dreamcast, what it meant to her, and what she can't wait to show us down the road and talk about down the road means to me that when they went into this deal, it wasn't, hey, we want X amount of dollars and we'll go ahead and help you build your infrastructure and get you up and running in the cloud, right? That's not what this was about. This was about, hey, we will help you get there. We love where you guys are thinking about the future. When we see, obviously we ourselves are developing games in the cloud and thinking about down the road how this is all going to work for accessibility and what gaming worlds can be created. So we love your vision, but we don't necessarily just want money here, Sega, right? We want this to be a full give and take situation. So you go ahead. We're going to give you all the support you need. We're going to do this in collaboration with you. We're going to help you out. But we want some of those IPs, right? Or we want the ability to have those games that you are creating come on over to Game Pass. All those kind of conversations, I can guarantee you happen. Oh, about that old backwards compatibility library. We'd love to see the old Sega games come over, right?
Can I tell you what would happen? Like, I understand that there's still a subset of people like, oh, I don't play old games, Boom. Yeah. Good on you if you don't. I'm not going to argue with you. But just imagine this for a second. Like, we're talking about a deal that we don't know much about, right? We have a press release. We have a tweet from Sarah Bond, which I thought was enough to explain it for me. But it's fine. It's just my opinion. Could you imagine if at some point, and maybe the 20th anniversary, this is announced? Obviously Sega has a tremendous history with Microsoft, right? long-standing, going back to the OG Xbox days, the Xbox 360 days, going back to, of course, the Xbox One days, and it appears they're going to start a brand new history here. But what if they turn around and says, now a part of Xbox Game Pass, they unleash the entire Dreamcast collection? What you know what I'm saying? Like what if that would be an incredible news story that people would be talking about for weeks, because Dreamcast is by far one of the most beloved consoles of yesteryear.
Right. Exactly. Anything that can move the needle. Whenever you're talking about Sega, there's a lot of nostalgia out there, especially on the older part of the older gamers out there. We all have nostalgia for Sega, right? The majority of us played Sega at some point, right? And the Dreamcast to this day, in certain sections of this community, is still considered the greatest console of all time. So anytime you will move the needle anytime you can announce something like that. Again, at the end of the day, this is all opinion. This is all projection. Nothing in that press release, for the people that want to downplay and temper excitement, you guys are absolutely factually correct that there was nothing in there that indicated that this was an Xbox deal, that we were going to see games come out of this. You are absolutely factually correct. Okay, if you want to take the literal terms of that press release, you are correct. However, you have to project out, because again, the point of this is that Microsoft is not going to enter into a partnership with a major third-party publisher. Again, Sony was different. They got tech in return that helped them out with that deal. Okay, that was a completely separate deal. But they're not going to enter into a agreement with a company like Sega at the end of the day and not receive something from a content perspective in return, or at least gain favorable position, because you're strengthening an already very strong relationship by making a deal like this. At the end of the day, that is going to mean good stuff for gamers, because that is going to mean down the road when Xbox goes to Sega, again, the least of it, right? Even if there was no content promise, at the end of the day, when Xbox goes to the table with Sega on any kind of future Game Pass deals, any kind of co-publishing deals, whatever the case may be, they are going to have favorable position because they cut a deal like this. Yes. That's the lead. That's at the low bar, right? That's just straight business. Anybody who knows anything about business, scratch your back, I'll scratch your back. That happens all the time. So that's the low bar. The high bar is what this means in the future. And your panel did a great job last night talking about all the possibilities. Obviously, again, Everborn rewrote the future of Sega, which they wind up underneath the umbrella and all that good stuff. I get that. We've talked about that plenty of times here during acquisition talk. Boom. I said, I'm on record as saying I never saw a full acquisition of Sega. I saw a strengthening of the partnership being the key down the road. And this is one of those steps. They are doing this to strengthen that partnership. Now, if that leads to an acquisition years down the road, great, fantastic, awesome, all about it. I'm a Sega guy through and through, would love to see it. But at the end of the day, in the interim, if Sega is getting themselves into a better position, right? And they talked about in 2017, that was the tweet that I put out yesterday to kind of give a good example of looking at the potential with Obsidian's retweet of that from 2017, when they announced that they were going to start revitalizing their old IPs. Right? That if they're in that position now where they have been moving towards that spot, and now they see that the future is through this streaming, through Azure Cloud, all that kind of stuff, and they can reach a wider audience that way, that just means more for the gamers. And then Xbox, being the main partners behind that, are in the position to cut favorable deals with Sega. If not an outright purchase down the road, they're in that position to say, hey, we have this great relationship. We want some of this for Game Pass. Sega is more than likely going to return that favor. And again, that's the low bar, right? That is the lowest mark. So again, why people want to temper expectations or put this down or say this is just a Sony deal, Sony-like deal, that's not true. You have to be able to look at the big picture. Xbox is doing this. Sarah Bond led this for a reason. And I understand that it comes out as Microsoft and Sega making a deal, but you have to look at the other factors. If this was a Sega Microsoft Corporation deal straight up, it would have been Satya the same way it was with Sony. Satya was the front man. Satya was the one out there shaking hands, taking photographs. Satya was that's a Microsoft Corp. This with Sarah Bond leading the way, with Sarah Bond tweeting it out, Phil Spencer retweeting her tweet. This behind the scenes is Xbox. This is what they've been looking to do with Sega for a while now. Sega has a grand vision. They talk about this big game or super game. And so what they're looking at is trying to create this new world. And again, why I think it alluded to that cloud development environment is because they're looking at how they can get developers from all over, not having to work on the same one, but not having to work in the same place, but being able to create this living world from anywhere they are and go ahead and make this a kind of, again, this is going to be the new buzzword. I'm already sick of it, but it's the new buzzword on social media, metaverse. Okay. So this is what everybody's going to be shooting for. I hate the word already, but it's there. So everybody, this is now what they're seeing 10 years down the road. They all want to create some kind of living world where people can go to and experience themselves in a different way. Yes, we do that already in video games, but they're trying to take it to that next sci-fi level where you want to live in this world full time. And I know it's been tried many times and we've had failures, but again, technology is moving that way. And these companies are seeing that. And again, Xbox is in prime position to be one of the leaders that other companies that maybe don't have the resources come to in order to fulfill that vision. But at the end of the day, Xbox is going to get return from this. Xbox is going to get something from this. And it's not just straight cash, right? This is going to be a content providing kind of deal where they get to expand their library with the Sega name and maybe at the end of the day, down the road, actually be in a position to acquire Sega, right? As they go and they form better partnerships. Like your panel pointed out last night, you don't just walk in and just buy things in Japan. It's a much slower process. Yes, it can be done, but at the end of the day, if you want to do it right, if you don't want to be shunned over there because you are a Western company, you kind of have to follow protocol. And one of those protocols is slowly but surely building a relationship, right? Everborn put it in different terms, but that's what you do, right? You have to build that relationship slowly, make sure that everybody's on the same trust level. Microsoft is making their inroads in the East, people.
Oh, they sure are.
They've tried for years, right, to do it the old-fashioned way. Hey, we're just going to market our console. We're going to try to get some Japanese games. We're going to try to do it that way. It's failed miserably, right? They're doing better this gen, but it's still not up to par.
I heard something behind the scenes I can't talk about just yet, but my God, if this happens.
Right. What they are doing right now with these types of moves is they're playing chess right now, and they are making their moves in a way that because they have advantages now, because now that they've become these leaders and they're doing things that other companies haven't tried before with, Game Pass, with xCloud, all that kind of stuff. They are now the leaders. So they're using that advantage with these companies in the East to gain a foothold. And slowly but surely, that foothold gets stronger and stronger because they're building more relationships. We've seen it with Bandai Namco. We're seeing it with Sega. We're seeing it in we've heard Sarah Bond come out and said they're working with 200 indie developers over in Japan. And again, this is not just about Japan. This is about South Korea and China, as well as India and places like that. And I can't wait to see what they're doing there because the talent is exploding. But they are making their inroads in a different way right now. They're gaining a foothold in a place that they've never had it before by using the advantages that they themselves have created through technology. And they are doing this in a brilliant way, I think, because I can see the future and I can see how they're going to do this. And so, again, your panel broke it down fantastic last night. But again, for the people who just want to poo-poo this, who just want to say this is another Sony deal, it's not. It's a lot deeper than that. And you have to take a step back. We could all be wrong. It could be the smallest of things. It's still opinion, but take a step back and look at the industry, look at everything from a satellite view, and things start to become clearer. And you can start to see roads where this could lead to, and that's the important thing. So.
100%. Great stuff as always. Before we get to Mav, and then we'll bring Zemi in on the back end of the conversation before we get on to Ryse, Son of Rome 2. Got to catch up on some of the super chats. The first one comes in from Danny Passion Official. He drops a $5 super chat and says, I can't believe that people are still hating on Halo Infinite campaign, also on Marvel's Guardians of the Galaxy, because Digital Foundry's opinion. How much power have we given them? I'm gonna tell you what I've given Digital Foundry: guts, because their opinions are like assholes, folks. Everyone has one, and whether they said that Halo Infinite was the greatest thing since sliced bread or a big steaming pile like they did in that breakdown video, I could honestly care less what any of those guys say, because I hate to say this, they are very smart. They do understand technology in a way that I will never know, and I'm okay with that. But I am going to tell you what they have driven themselves to is based on the click. They want you to hate on them, because if you hate on them, you're going to click. And that breakdown video where they basically shit all over Halo Infinite because that's not what they wanted is probably going to get thousands upon thousands of hits from people that hate Halo, that want to see Microsoft fail, people like myself, and I won't give them a view. I've unsubscribed from them for years. I could care less what they say. Their opinions are worthless. Are they smart? Sharp as a tack. Do I give a flying shit? No, not even a hoot of what anyone from Digital Foundry says, and you shouldn't either. Thanaros, generous friend of the show, he drops a $5 super chat and says, Kart Racer or not, there's a need. They need to be a game that celebrates the IPs and history of Xbox. Dude, I couldn't have put it any better. That is well said. And Prena Pluck drops a £5 super chat and says, nice to catch up live finally instead of watching the recap. Greetings from the Netherlands. Great show, Boom, and awesome panel. Well, dude, welcome from New Rochelle, New York, brother. Thank you so much for joining live, and definitely appreciate the very generous £5 super chat. Also, we have OCD Gamer drops an outstanding $5 super chat and says, I just wanted to say hello to the panel and great show as always, guys. Well, thank you, brother. Appreciate you being here. We also have TK Chillin drops an outstanding and very generous $10 super chat and says, hi, guys. Great topics and discussion as always. Well, TK, thanks for being here, brother. Thank you for the generosity, and good friend of the show who's going through some stuff right now. Aaron JF94 drops a $2 super chat and says, love you all. Wish me luck on my procedure on Thursday. Indeed, brother. Many, many prayers. Hopefully everything goes well, and we'll be seeing you on Friday morning when you're done with your procedure, and hopefully there'll be nothing to report. But let's get Mav in on the conversation. Mav, this is, again, everyone's entitled to their opinion. But I did say this on last night's show, and I will reiterate now. I did walk away slightly disappointed with a lot of the Xbox community. Some people in high positions in people's opinions regarding theirs were, trying to downplay how important this deal was. And like I said, I agree 100% with Pong Soul. All you have to do is look at the fact that Sarah Bond, who is the VP of Xbox, to be involved in the conversation. And it wasn't even just like she was invited into the meeting. She is leading the charge on this deal. That should tell you something. But if you didn't get that, I hear you. Mav, what did you get from this announcement?
Yeah, at first, when I first saw it, right? And I think what a lot of people out there are getting from that was the wording sounded similar to the Sony thing, right? With the press release, right? So when I first saw it, I'm like, okay, this sounds similar to that. But there was a couple key differences that I took right away. And then I, after doing more looking and putting things together, seeing the Sarah Bond tweet, realizing Sarah Bond was the one that was leading this, all these other things like added up to more, right? But at first it's like, okay, cool, this is going to be them using the servers and stuff like that on their new games and stuff. But there was one key difference immediately that I wanted to point out was that the difference between Sony and Sega is Sony is a platform holder. They are in competition with Xbox in the console and gaming space. Right?
Correct.
So any deal they're making with Sony is not going to be for Xbox related stuff. It's going to be more of a business hey, use our servers and technology sharing and all that.
Oh man, I thought we were getting God of War, Mav. Come on.
No, unfortunately not. You know, but the thing is, with Sega, that's already a partner with Xbox and releases games in Game Pass. And on the Xbox ecosystem, they already have a relationship. They're already partners, right?
Yes.
This is a strengthening of something that is involving Game Pass, regardless of what anybody says, because it's a gaming related thing, right? It even goes into say in the press release about IP utilization, right? New games, creation of new games using Microsoft's Azure and cloud technologies. And again, like Pong broke down, Sarah Bond is the one that is leading this, right? Sarah Bond's title is a vice president of Xbox, I believe, right? So does that should tell you if you don't think Xbox is involved, then why is the vice president of Xbox leading this partnership?
Well, it's funny because J301M says something very interesting in the chat. He says Sarah Bond is a big red flag as she has no links to the server's network, meaning Azure. Right.
So yeah, she's more about cultivating partnerships with developers, and her focus is getting and making it easier for developers to get their games onto Xbox and Game Pass. She said this before in interviews. That's pretty much what she does, right? And she's leading the charge with the Sega partnership. What do you think her goal is with this? I mean, she works for Xbox, right? Like, what do you think her goal is here?
Her goal is to get as many of the Sega games on the PlayStation 5 and box out her own company. That's her goal.
I think the goal is got to be in Xbox's interest.
Of course.
Right?
Yes.
From Xbox perspective, it's okay, you give me this, I give you that, right? Like, so they're working with Sega. They're going to create new games using Xbox, Microsoft, Azure technology, all this stuff, right? The game stack thing, all this stuff, right? Utilizing all these things, built, hosted, and operated on Azure and Microsoft tech, right? Built, hosted, and operated. Okay? These games, these new super games that they're going to be built, are going to be easily accessible via the Xbox ecosystem, right? They're already hosted and operated by the Xbox tech with Azure, right? So it should make it easy and also a win-win for both to bring those games into Game Pass, which also goes in line with something that the head of Sega said with broadening their audience.
Yes.
Reaching more gamers around the world is their goal. Using the cloud technology from Xbox.
Yep.
Everybody is focused on just a couple of words about, this sounds just like the Sony thing and stuff. But if you just keep digging and keep looking at this, it goes way further. The reason they're forming this alliance is because their visions align.
Yes.
There's already stuff from 2017 that we found. I think Pong shared it from Obsidian, and it goes into I think it was like an earnings call or something from Sega at that time, are expanding on this exact same idea of what their goals are. This is helping them bring that to fruition, right? This is that next step. They've been working with Microsoft for decades. There's no reason for them to announce something unless it went deeper than that, right? This is not just a simple business transaction. This is an alliance. As Dutch broke down in that show last night, the differences between partnership and alliance and all these things, it's pretty strong. What their goals align, and you got to have something for each, right? So this is going to be a mutually beneficial arrangement, and it's not just like Pong said about money. It's about games, because the way that Xbox is going to make more money is getting more subscribers. And how are they going to get more subscribers? By having more games. And who is that going to benefit? Sega, because Xbox has more subscribers, which is going to grow Sega's audience, because I believe these games, these super games in the future, at least at a bare minimum, those will be coming to Game Pass. But I think there's even more than that, because Sarah Bond said more to share. I can't wait to share more with you. When it's like we have a box under the Christmas tree right now that's wrapped, and it's nice, pretty bow, and the box says Sega on it, and we don't know what it is, but we get to know. We're gonna unwrap it soon, right? What is it? What is it for the gamer that Sarah Bond is excited to share in the future, right? Like this is going to also improve things for the gamers, for us. So I'm curious to see how that's going to be reflected, because they did allude to that as well. So I'm really excited about this. I think there's a world of opportunity out there for this, now that they are making this announcement that they're working together stronger, forming this alliance. I think I don't know exactly what it's going to bring. I don't know if it's going to lead to acquisition, like some people are saying, because I don't think it necessarily needs to. Right.
Yeah.
For
it's not necessary right now. Yep.
Yeah. For me, like the goal is Game Pass, right? Because that's Xbox's main goal, right? And so for me, like as a Game Pass subscriber, that's what I'm focused on as well, right? And I think that's what makes the most sense.
I left it out there for you, Mav, but since you didn't grab it, look, one little side note, when we're talking about favorable position with Sega by doing this kind of stuff, and there are old IPs that Sega have that are dead and dormant.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. Just like Microsoft.
Yep.
I know where you're going with this.
Yes, but they have the opportunity to approach Sega now on a different level when they do these kind of deals, to say, hey, you know, Alpha Protocol.
Oh my God!
It's been sitting there for a long time.
You know, Games is gonna be excited for that.
Yeah, you know, Obsidian has been thinking about it for a long time. See their tweet from 2017, by the way. Yeah. They've been thinking about that game. They'd like to revisit that game. What do you think? Can we get a deal done? That's the kind of position it puts you in. There's tons of IP that Sega has, and who knows, there might be studios within Xbox like Obsidian that would love. They talked about, I went through Obsidian's tweet from 2017. People brought up, hey, we'd love to see work on a new Shining Force. Shining Force is one of my favorite all-time JRPGs. It's been dormant. They've done Shining series games, but nothing like Shining Force. Somebody brought it up, and Obsidian was like, we'd love to work on a Shining Force. Yeah, so there's stuff like that you have the opportunity now, with more and more doors being opened over there, to say, hey, what about this? When have we worked on this together?
Yeah. Yeah. Do you think this deal, like, because we're going into this and they keep mentioning IPs, IP utilization, other things as well, keep referencing IPs. Do you think this deal, like in the wording that they have together, is potentially going to be sharing IPs with each other for development?
It could very well be.
It's possible.
That would be something you don't have to acquire them to, but you can actually, like, hey, and if you think that sounds crazy, people just look up who developed Halo Wars 2.
Correct.
Right? And Halo Wars.
Correct.
Right? It's Creative Assembly. Guess who they're owned by? Sega. right?
Yep.
These things happen all the time. Crystal Dynamics is working on freaking Perfect Dark right now, and they're owned by Square Enix. So these things happen. You can have other devs that are
Oh,
from other
absolutely. Yep.
companies.
And
And
man,
if
we were
you're
just talking about family friendly stuff, right? We were just
Yeah.
talking about family friendly stuff.
Yep.
Who is known more outside of Nintendo for family friendly
Sega.
stuff than Sega?
100%.
Right?
Yes.
100%. So if you are going to bring that to life within Game Pass and you don't have the studios currently that want to make that type of platformer or that type of style of game or whatever the case may be, Sega might be willing to do that. And you get those co-publishing deals, or you're just helping Sega make those games. And where do those games show up? In Game Pass. And suddenly you have your family-friendly games. And we already know from all the games that have shown up in Game Pass, once they show up there, it's identified with Xbox, even if it's multi-plat. Again, this is not about exclusives. I saw a bunch of people going, there's not going to be exclusive deals. Look, at the end of the day, if there is no exclusivity, who cares? If it shows up on Game Pass, you already win that war because the mind share goes out there and says, oh, it's in Game Pass. It's almost automatically an Xbox game at that point, right? It doesn't matter if it's on other platforms. So again, Microsoft, Xbox, they win no matter what happens at the end of the day. But absolutely, I think this opens up a world of possibilities. The stronger this relationship is, even without an acquisition, the more doors opened up there, the more scratching of backs, the more that's returned to you. And I think that this does open up a huge potential. I mean, it's big.
Yeah. Well, I mean, what if the next Persona? What if Persona 6 is exclusive?
I was just gonna say, again, there's the Atlas has been so stubborn not to put their games on Xbox. I think this might finally do it.
Yeah.
And yeah, that would be huge. Let's say that they do get an exclusivity deal out of this for something. A Persona game. Again, even though Persona did not sell well in the past, Persona 5 and Persona 5 Royale sold extremely
Really
well.
Yes.
Right? For that type of game, for what is really a niche title, that opened up a lot of people's eyes. And to get something like that, even if it's like time, I don't personally care because more people get to enjoy it. We're going to talk about Ryse II possibly. More people are going to enjoy it, the better. I don't care about that, but it would be a huge get for Xbox if they secured that. It's going to be a huge get even if they get the Atlas titles to come over. That is going to be a big deal. Much like Yakuza, what we saw, the transformation of Yakuza, Sega's talked about it multiple times. How many more people are now playing Yakuza, even though that was considered a niche title as well and was always associated with PlayStation prior to it coming to Game Pass? Guess what? Now that whole series came to Game Pass, there's a ton of people on the Xbox side that found Yakuza and absolutely loved it. It's a brand new audience that Sega went, whoa, we didn't know this was going to happen.
And now they went out and bought Judgment.
Right. They went out and got broad Judgment, and Xbox got the marketing deal for Like a Dragon. Right. Yes. So that is a big deal. And again, if they can get the Atlas titles over, please, it's going to be a big get for Xbox.
Yep, 100%. Zemi, before we get over to, of course, the Ryse Son of Rome 2, which we can't wait to talk about. And obviously, you see that on the screen. This game is from 2013, folks, and still looks incredible, by the way. Where do you personally stand on what this deal actually means for Xbox? Not Microsoft, Xbox.
I think, listening to Pong, listening to Mav, listening to your, incredible panel last night, I definitely agree that it is definitely Xbox focused, right? And that Sega is getting access to, Microsoft's, amazing technology. And then in return, Xbox is getting whatever they're getting, right? As far as, to what that means, I have no idea. I mean, we might as well just, go ahead and go into speculation town at this point because, who knows?
All the co-mayors are here, so why not? Why not?
Absolutely. Mav, can you reissue my visa for speculation town?
Yeah, right on.
Why are you asking Mav? Why you're not asking as the original co-founder?
Because
he runs fun speculation. If anyone can do it, it's he.
Okay, I see the pecking order now, Zemi. All right.
No, for sure. It could definitely, this deal could definitely lead to licensing deals, right? Xbox being able to get the license to Alpha Protocol so Obsidian can make Alpha Protocol 2, right? It could definitely lead to licensing deals. It could lead to more marketing deals. I mean, I imagine the next Sonic coming out being advertised in Japan with a marketing deal with Xbox saying, hey, if you want to play this game, play it on xCloud, right?
Yes.
Like in
Great point,
Japanese,
Sammy.
to Japanese consumers, bam, from a iconic Japanese company pushing forward Xbox's service over in that region. What a fantastic way to grow the service in that area, right? So it could lead to marketing deals. It, of course, could lead to exclusives. I don't think it should lead to that. I would much rather, as a consumer, I would much rather just see the game come to Game Pass and then allow PlayStation people pay $60-$70 for it over on their platform. I would much rather have that, right? Because I don't think exclusive really does the same amount as just saying that it's in Game Pass, right? Or so on and so forth. I mean, rather than take Persona, whatever the next Persona game is, rather than take that away from PlayStation users, throw it on Xbox, throw it into Game Pass day and dates if you can, right? Because that speaks louder, right? Because all those PlayStation people that are playing Persona over on their console, they get to still enjoy that game that they've enjoyed for years, but they're going to have it in the back of their mind. Well, if I owned an Xbox, I wouldn't even have to pay $60 for this because it would just be in Game Pass, just automatically or whatever it may be. So, what Xbox is getting out of this deal could be a multitude of things, but I think the biggest things to think of is licensing deals, marketing deals, and getting their games into Game Pass and on their services. Total War, for instance, is a huge franchise that Creative Assembly makes for PC gaming. Tons of people love it. It could be thrown into Game Pass for PC. There are plenty of other strategy games in there, such as Age of Empires. But even going to third party, we have Paradox Interactive that throws, Crusader Kings 3, Europa Universalis, a bunch of other strategy games in there. So we could possibly even see, some Creative Assembly games be tossed into Game Pass for PC as well. I mean, I think that there's a lot. What's that?
Company of Heroes as well.
Company of Heroes, absolutely.
New one coming.
Yeah, that's another one as well. So there's a lot of opportunities. There's a lot of things that Xbox could be getting. And honestly, quite frankly, I would be excited regardless of what they get. If they get marketing deals, I'm going to get excited because that enables them to grow even quicker in the Japanese region, which obviously could domino effect into other things, positive things happening for the brand. If it's Game Pass deals, that's fantastic. Now I don't have to buy a bunch of games. I get them just automatically in Game Pass and I have more to play. And if it's licensing, well, that makes me even more excited because hopefully Alpha Protocol will be one of those IPs that Microsoft licensed from Sega. So I can finally get Alpha Protocol 2, which would be a dream come true. Please, please get that game. I need that game in my life. I need it. Done.
Yes.
How many years have I been praying?
Dude,
for this?
I need as much as you want the next God Howard game, you want an Alpha Protocol.
I want an Alpha Protocol 2 so badly. But I think regardless of what we get and getting caught up in all the speculations of what Xbox could get, Xbox is definitely giving Sega some amazing technology. They're going to get something great in return. And regardless of what that is, I think Xbox gamers should be getting excited because it's either way that you look at it, it's positive news.
I absolutely agree. I think this is a win situation where, I mean, again, we could have incorporated into the kart racer. They obviously AM2 is still exists, and even if it's a small facet. They did make a Sonic Racer last gen. They could make a Sonic Racer with Microsoft characters, but I would, again, I don't want to go down that deep dark rabbit hole at this point. We've talked about it.
Is it time for Ryse?
It is time for Ryse Son of Rome 2. Folks, we got to get into what I think everyone has tuned in for, what I advertised the show to be. Folks, this is something that I have been screaming to the rafters to get done. Obviously, you saw you're watching the footage. This is running at 1080p, right? This is what I'm allowed to produce for these shows based on the software I'm using. I'm looking at multiple screens because I have it open, and this game that launched in 2013 that did have some issues, right? That, nobody wants to fight the same barbarian 150 times, but he wants to cut off the same head 170 times. But to say that this game didn't have a holy shit, this is on my Xbox appeal back then I don't know what you were playing, because even though there was some mechanical issues, right? There were some very samey issues with the game. If you look at what Microsoft had in the early times of Xbox One, this is what kind of reigns supreme in Sony's forte of games, right? The detailed, over-the-shoulder, story-driven, adult-themed content. This is what leads the charge with Sony. And I'm not saying that Sony games are like this. They are. I mean, they're similar. Obviously, Sony does put a significant amount of work into them, and obviously, like I said in the opening, this did have its its slight problems. But the fact that we didn't get a sequel to this, thanks to Crytek's deal with Microsoft only being for the one game, and then Microsoft apparently having some issues with Crytek, and Crytek in themselves were a company littered with problems. So, specifically in the finance department, there were a lot of people that worked for that company that didn't get paid for months, right? And I don't know how much has changed, what the culture has changed since, because you don't really hear too much about Crytek. I mean, it's one of the companies, one of the places I wish Microsoft would purchase for the Ryse, the Crysis IPs, but for the Crytek engine itself. I think that's still an incredible engine. And like I said, if you look at a game that is now 8 years old and still looks this good, folks, I mean, the proof is in the pudding. But thanks to a friend of the show, he was a guest last night, Special Nick of Xbox Era, we got some information that Crytek is in fact working on a Ryse II. What's interesting in the story, though, is that apparently Ed Source suggested that this could be a multiplat, meaning that it would release on the PlayStation 5. Now, again, do I care? Not really, because I'm getting Ryse II. I don't care if anyone from the PlayStation wants to play it. Good on them. I will say before I get to Nick's quotes from that Xbox Era podcast, when you think of Ryse, at least for me, I think of Xbox. I don't think of PlayStation. I don't think of Nintendo, because the game IP never existed on any other platform. I personally think that seeing how Sony has gone out of their way to lock things as exclusives behind as much as 2 years. I mean, we're still waiting for Final Fantasy VII. I don't know when that's going to happen, right? Final Fantasy 16, which I could give a flying shit about because, I didn't like 15, so I'm probably not going to like 16. That's 2 years. A few other of the Square titles are 2 years. 2 years is a long time in the video game world for a game to release on said platform and not on the other. So do I think Microsoft should lock this up? I'm kind of on the fence about that, because I just want the game. I don't care whether it comes out for the PlayStation 5. Would I like to see this in Game Pass day and date? 100%. 100%. But if they have a collector's edition that comes with like a Roman statue or something, I will buy that because I love collector's editions. But let's get to Nick's quotes. And he had this to say regarding Ryse, Son of Rome 2. I had a reason to believe that this person was legit because they then showed me certain things that made me believe they were on the level. So, of course, the thing that I got excited about the most was the fact that a new Ryse is in development. And obviously, again, he said this during the Xbox Era podcast. He also continues with, so this person told me, yep, there's a new Ryse in development. I can't give you dates. I can't even give you quarters of when things are happening, just that there's a Ryse in development. And like I said, I've been given pictures of stuff that leads me to believe this person is in fact legit. The interesting part about Ryse is that I've, at least at the time of whenever this was happening, I know what I'm saying right now doesn't make a whole lot of sense, but it was a multi-platform game and not exclusive to Xbox. So should this Ryse game be happening, it seems likely it will be a multiplat. Well, let's go right over the Zemi games. Zemi, Ryse Son of Rome is a game that I think is, again, it's one of those games that we want Microsoft to have. And again, it's not saying that we want Microsoft to be Sony, but these are the types of experiences that I go to the PlayStation for. They're the third person, story driven, adult themed, single player type of game. And it's the reason why I own a PlayStation 5, because I love those experiences. Ryse was that experience before Sony had it on the PlayStation 4, right? This is what we had as Xbox gamers as a launch title. And it's pretty interesting when you think about, when you look back to 2013, there was a lot to dislike about the TV with good old Donnie D, right? It's very forgettable for sure. But two of the standout launch titles that still hold up today is Killer Instinct and Ryse Son of Rome. Folks, you see the screen in front of you. This is a game that's 8 years old and still looks this damn good. The fact that we now have confirmation from an insider who, again, besides, me and Nick talking behind the scene almost all the time, I do trust him as an insider before I consider him a friend now. So he tells me, boom, yeah, I got an inside track that Ryse Son of Rome is in fact being worked on. I'm okay with that. Could he be wrong? Has he been wrong? Sure, but this gives me hope. But this is very exciting because this, again, if you beat the game, it ended on a cliffhanger that suggested that there could be more mythical aspects to the sequel, which gets me very excited. Where do you fall on this news, Ryse Son of Rome 2 actually being in development? And for you, does it matter it's going to launch on the PlayStation 5? Allegedly.
I hope that it is happening. I hope that it is happening. I mean, 2013 was a very sad year for Xbox gamers, at least for me. I'm not going to speak for everyone, but for me personally, Ryse Son of Rome was like the candle in the night. It was like one of the very few bright lights for being an Xbox gamer at that time. And like I said, I'm speaking just for myself. If you loved everything about Xbox in 2013, that's great for you. I didn't.
Yeah. For a lot of reasons, yes.
For a lot of reasons, and I definitely get what you're saying with it being like the PlayStation games that we kind of saw during the PlayStation 4 generation, and in some ways it's almost like this was Xbox's version of God of War, right? Or it was like their answer to God of War. Regardless of it, absolutely love the game. Even still today, it looks fantastic. Even though it's been a long time since this game released. As far as it coming to PlayStation, I'm perfectly fine with it. I don't care. I just want to play the game, right? And if it has to come third party for it to happen, then I'm all for it, right? I'm a gamer because I like and I enjoy playing games, right? PlayStation not being able to play this game does nothing for me, right? Doesn't help me, doesn't hurt me. I don't care. All I care about is getting to play this game. I would love it if Xbox worked out some deal to get this game into Xbox Game Pass, right? I would prefer that more than an exclusive every single day of the week.
One less game that we have to buy.
yeah. Even if I had to pay $60 for it, I wouldn't care. I would pay $60 in a second. Like you, if they wanted to charge me, $150, $200 for a collector's edition, so I can get some cool Roman statue, absolutely, I'm paying it. I'm in day one. The one thing that I just don't want to happen, I don't care if it goes to PlayStation. I really don't. The one thing I don't want to see happen is PlayStation gobble this up, kind of similar to what we saw them do with the
100%.
Knights of the Old Republic game, right? where they took a game that was previously, only on Xbox, and now, next gen, well, several gens later, now it's only on PlayStation, right? I don't want to see this be a timed exclusive for PlayStation, or really even a timed exclusive for Xbox. Because at the end of the day, I want to play this game when it releases, and I want to play it on my preferred platform whenever it releases. And that's really all I care about. I hope that that these rumors, these leaks, whatever whatever we're going to call them, I hope that they're true. I hope this game is happening because this game has been on my wish list for a very, very long time. I would say probably as long as Alpha Protocol 2. Alpha Protocol 2 has probably been on my wish list for a little bit longer, but this one is definitely up there. I want to see this game happen. I throw it in the same category as wanting to see a Quantum Break 2. I definitely want to see a sequel to this game.
You know what? I think everything you said was spot on my internal feelings, and I agree with you. I think it would be a monster missed opportunity.
It's a travesty it hasn't happened already.
Yeah, no, 100%.
Just to be frank, it's a travesty that we haven't already gotten a sequel.
And I absolutely agree. I think what would be worse, though, is exactly what you said. If this somehow missed the mark of Xbox and Sony locked this down, that would be egregious. Like, I know money talks, but Microsoft would have to step in and be like, listen, we have more money than Sony. We're paying for this, because to get it again, I don't want to see them lock it behind and have Sony not get it. I don't care. I just want the game. I think that there is a significant amount of lore if this game is done correctly, where it is, told in a way that's kind of God of War-esque, where you could get some mysticism on the back end of what was going on. There was a hint of it, throughout the story if you beat it. So yes, the gods were somehow involved, but not like God of War. I would love to see them expand on that, and I think they could, even bringing in, taking it to another level and bringing in like monsters and stuff from the lore of the gods. I think that would be fantastic. But I'm right there with you. I think that if they would allow, and I say they, I'm talking about Xbox, would allow this to somehow be locked behind a 2-year exclusive to Sony, would be devastating. I mean, I would play it on the PlayStation 5. I would be forced to play it there, not where I want to play it. I want to play it on, like you said, preferred platform. Let's get Pong Soul in on a conversation. Pong, this is a game that's 8 years old. Still holds up in my opinion. Is it going to be anyone's game of the year when part 2 comes out? Probably not. But you know something? The fact that we could potentially going to get a 2 has me very excited. Where do you fall on the Ryse Son of Rome 2 news?
Oh yeah. I mean, this is exciting. I started on PS4 last gen. Because of Donnie D and all the TV stuff. So I went to PlayStation first, but when I got back into Xbox 2017, 2018, Ryse was one of the first games that I fired up because I had seen it, I had read about it. I'm a huge Gladiator, the movie fan. Like, all of this was like playing into what I enjoy. So when I fired up Ryse, I was like, because I had read obviously all the garbage about it, in what people didn't like about it. Yes, the quick time events aren't my favorite thing in the world. It does get boring after a while, but at the end of the day, when people were talking about the resolution and all that kind of stuff, I fired that thing up and I was like, what are people talking about? This game is absolutely gorgeous. The story was fantastic. The character development, the writing was very, very good. I was really impressed with what Crytek was able to do here. And so for me, I thought that we would have had a sequel by now. I thought for sure that Microsoft would have gotten this done. Xbox would have gotten this done. I know it didn't do well and it got a lot of hate, but at the end of the day, now that people look back at it and have enjoyed it, I think there's more positivity than there is negativity around this game, and people realize that it was overblown at the time. So I think this game does deserve it. Now, when it comes to Crytek, they're kind of a mess. Like you said, Boom, we haven't heard a lot, but we've heard them, some of their issues that have followed them, that have plagued them, and that have caused them to kind of fall off from where they were. Because again, Crysis put them on the map.
Yep.
Obviously, that was the gold standard back in the day for PC gamers, especially when it came to it. Now we've seen some resurgence here. They just released the Crysis Remastered trilogy, which has gotten favorable reviews. Still some issues, but overall, everybody absolutely is saying it's gorgeous. I'm actually going to pick it up eventually here, but I'd like to see them do this. And if it means that it has to go multiplat, don't care. This is like Alan Wake to me. Right. This is something that, Alan Wake started as an exclusive, only Xbox people got to enjoy it on the 360, and then obviously, Xbox sold the rights back to Remedy, and Remedy's now making Alan Wake 2. And what did they just do? They just made an Alan Wake remastered, made it multiplat. So all the people, especially over on the Sony side that did not get to enjoy Alan Wake can go back and see the story for themselves and get excited about Alan Wake 2. So for me, I don't care. Would it be great to get a deal for a Game Pass day? Well, of course it would be. More games in Game Pass, the better. I'm selfish. I don't care. Give me all the games in Game Pass. But at the end of the day, even if that can't happen, just to see a sequel made to a game that was underappreciated when it first launched and then got more appreciated as time went by, I would love to see it, because like you said, Boom, there's a lot of different ways they could take the story. They could put it in a whole different time frame if they want to. I think we've talked about that on the show too. They could move it around like Assassin's Creed, and kind of keep it fresh. But even if they did a direct sequel to this, that would be off the charts exciting, because I'd love to see what they could do nowadays with the current gen, without a lot of limitations they had on the Xbox One VCR, the original Xbox, without having to compromise a lot of their storytelling and their graphics, especially with some of the resolution and that kind of stuff. Maybe get rid of the quick time events, make it just a full-fledged action game, like you said, maybe even expand it as far as a God of War style story. Hey, I'm all about that. The more the merrier. And again, as a huge Gladiator fan, I would love it. I'd actually really like to see what they could do with the multiplayer too. I think the multiplayer had so much potential. And I go back and I still play against the bots every once in a while. And I think that really nowadays, with where everything is at and with all the kind of lessons learned through the years when it comes to co-op multiplayer, I'd love to see a co-op multiplayer of this. That would be so cool to be able to hop into Ryse with a friend or two or three and really take on some legions and take it on the Gladiator style, 4 against 20, 4 against 30. You throw the lions and tigers in there and bears, oh my. That would be just an awesome way to bring this game back. So yeah, no, I'm all about it. Give me a sequel. I'd love to see it, and I will be there day one for sure.
Yep, absolutely. And Mav, close out this incredible topic to close out what I think is one of the best shows that we've had in a while, because the topics really were fire. Where do you fall on a Ryse Son of Rome 2? Not only the announcement from Special Nick saying that he got it on good authority and he has good sources, but I mean, does it matter to you that it would launch on the PlayStation 5? I mean, because I think we're all in agreement here, at least Pong and Zemi and myself. We just want the game. Like we honestly, I don't care where they put it. I just want it on the Xbox because that's where I want to play it. That's where I played the original. I want to continue that story. Are you excited to play Ryse Son of Rome 2?
Yeah, I hope it's legit. It sounds like it is, and whatever's best for Crytek, whatever was able to make them allow to greenlight this game, is where you need to put it. As long as it's not only on the Switch.
Yes,
I'll veto that.
Stadia exclusive.
Stadia or
is
like
Stadia
or
a thing still?
Luna.
I don't even know.
I don't know.
Yeah, I think it is still a thing.
It is still a thing.
Yeah. There was a Stadia exclusive not too long ago, I think. It's pretty weird. But anyway, yeah, I just, whatever it took for them to get this game out, I would be excited to try it. Crytek, we've talked about this before when we had like some of our past acquisition rumors and all these things. Like, I actually love Crytek, right? because they created the Far Cry franchise, right? And so they've had their ups and downs, right? They created Crisis, I think that whatever's best for them to make sure you're stable, you can keep working on the Cry engine and all that tech and keep moving forward, then is what's best. And if that means Xbox and PlayStation, if it means only Xbox, and even if it means only PlayStation, like if it creates the game, I'm all for it. Now, if they're already making it and just take a marketing deal for like a timed exclusivity thing, not a huge fan of that. But if it's what created the game, if it's what allowed the funding for the game to get created, then whatever it needs to be, because I want to see that come out. You know what I mean? And I think it's got a lot of potential because Crytek's a great dev, and I want to see them back on top. So let's go.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, again, we don't know what's going on internally. I mean, they could be a mess still, and they probably are. To be honest with you, I think the reason why you get a Ryse II is because it's an established IP. They don't have to create from the beginning, right? So there is an establishment here with the IP. I'll say this publicly. And if anyone from Microsoft is listening, I don't know what connections you have to getting a game like this. I don't care so much about the exclusivity. I think that it will be considered egregious, if you will, if this doesn't come to Xbox and somehow Sony does what Sony does and locks this behind a year or 2-year deal. Because again, all you have to do is look at how Knights of the Old Republic is coming to Sony first. Like the remake of one of the greatest Star Wars told tales in the history of Star Wars told tales in gaming, and that's somehow going to be a PlayStation 5 exclusive. It's egregious. I said it then. I don't know how Microsoft allowed that to happen. They have a good relationship with EA. I think they have enough money they could have dropped the bag off, or 2 bags, or 5 bags, or 10 bags. Keep it out of Sony's court, if you will. But let's get to the outros, folks. It's been a great 2 hours. Hopefully you enjoyed it enough to hit the like button. Zemi Games, brother, tell everyone where they can reach out to you on social media. But more importantly, check out your YouTube channel.
Yeah, so, oh man, I haven't talked in a little bit. So Constant Gamer is my YouTube channel. I do a ton of gaming content, gaming news, reviews, some theory videos, just all sorts of gaming content. So if that's your type of thing, definitely check out the YouTube channel, constantgamer.com, or not .com, Constant Gamer. Watch some videos. If you like what you see, hit that subscribe button. Then you guys can also follow me on Twitter at Zemi Games. I pretty much post what most content creators post. If I see some interesting news, I'll usually post about it or retweet it, or so on and so forth. I also post some personal stuff on there, like pictures of food that I just cooked, or whatnot. So definitely give me a follow on Twitter if you're on there. Once again, that is at Zemi Games. Boom, fantastic show as always, man, and can't wait until next Tuesday.
Yeah, thank you so much, brother. But yeah, great show today. Great to have you back on the panel, and of course, great topics to round out the 2 hours. Pong Soul. I mean, listen, I'm not even going to break down what you're doing because, my God, you and Mav got a long list. But you know something? What's great about what you guys are doing is that you do have a lot of shows, but they're all a little bit different than the next, and they're all quality. And you always bring it 100%, whether you're hanging out with Mav on, PM in the PM, which is the new show, or, of course, you're on Saturday morning with your brother from another, Steel Rain, obviously keeping it real and uncut. Talk about what you got going on. Where could people reach out to you on social media? And more importantly, subscribe to your outstanding YouTube channel.
That's right, Boom. Hey, great show, brothers. Boom, Zemi, Mav, awesome to be here with you all. Archimedes, hope the wife gets better. We miss you, brother. And 3-Bit, get done with all your projects so you can come back and talk with us, man. I miss your face.
He's modeling. He's modeling.
Yeah, he's probably modeling. You're right. the Target Christmas catalog is coming soon, so he's got to get in there. Anyways, love you all. Great show. Chat, you guys were phenomenal. The discussions in there were awesome. Again, that means we are hitting on topics that you guys enjoy. So again, nothing but love and respect for coming out here and supporting us and giving us extra discussion and keeping everybody engaged. That is a part of this as well. So thank you all so much. Hey, look, Pong Soul everywhere, Twitter, Xbox. And then obviously Thursday, as Boom was just talking about, Mav and I's new show, PM in the PM, Pong and Mav in the PM. That's right. We break down 1, maybe 2. Last week we got to 3 because there were smaller topics, but 2 hours just Mav and I kicking back and talking about it. I think this week it might be a Sega week. So come on by Thursday night, 7 p.m. Eastern, 6 o'clock Central Time, PM in the PM over on Fun Speculations channel. Be there. It's a great one. Episode number 3. Mav decided to keep funding us. So thank God I still got a job. So we're good there. PM in the PM, Thursday nights. Friday, back on Fun Speculations channel. Again, this dude's building an empire, much like Boom here. So Xbox Ultimate, Friday nights. I'll let him do the rest. 9 p.m. Eastern, 8 o'clock Central Time. Magnificent 7. Be there as well. Saturday mornings, living split screen. That's right, living split screen. Split screen is all one word. My brother from another, Steel Rain, and I. Look, 3 hours plus. Buckle up. Get your coffee. Get your breakfast. Do your chores. We're still going to be there. So if you got to go run an errand, come back. Steel and I are probably still going to be talking. So get ready. Living split screen Saturday mornings, 10 a.m. Eastern, 9 o'clock Central Time, 3 p.m. UK time. We are building something special, live, raw, and uncut, like Steel likes to say. So episode 32. This Saturday. I want to see you all there because I love you all, and we got some good things to talk about. We talk about the entire industry. Then Saturday nights. That's right. We end Saturday night over at the Shop Podcast, PTK Blam, Centurion, Fuzzy Belvedere. Just a great show. PTK has been doing it for 5+ years. Come by and see it. It's an easy show to listen to. We have cool conversations. PTK has great guests. Just drop on in. Check it out. 9 p.m. Eastern, 8 o'clock Central Time. Otherwise, golden age of gaming is here. Get out there. Play what you love. Love what you play. Stop the bickering. Stop trying to downplay excitement. Just go enjoy it. If you're not excited about it, move on. No big deal. Let everybody else have their excitement. Love you all. Talk to you soon.
Thanks so much, brother. And of course, last and no way least, another busiest man in the gaming podcast realm, Mav, talk about what you got going on. Where could people support you on YouTube by subscribing to your YouTube channel? And where can people strike up a conversation on social media?
Heck yeah, Boom. Fun show, as always. Pong, Zimmy, you guys are awesome. We're getting closer to 2K subs. We're like at 1.86, I think. So
nice.
Making our way there. Appreciate everybody who watches any of our content over on Fun Speculation on YouTube. That's right. That's where you can find it. Fun Speculation. And if that sounds like it's fun speculating about things, that's because it is. And also Twitter, Fun Speculation. You can find all the channel updates and everything there as well. As Pong was saying, Thursday is PM in the PM. Friday is Xbox Ultimate Podcast. Saturday is FSP. Monday we got Tidbits, and Wednesday we got Fun Pop. Yeah, we got a full slate, everybody. Holy crap! But yeah, just check it out. I hope to see you guys there. If you like what we do, drop a like, subscribe, all that fun stuff. And I hope you enjoyed this show because it is freaking awesome. Boom is awesome. We all love Boom, right? I love Boom.
Thank you, brother. Definitely appreciate that. And sorry if you hear them just cutting grass. Thank God the show is over. Real quick, I got to thank 2 people with the super chats. Man with a Plan drops an outstanding $5 super chat and said, Xbox giving gamers things we didn't know we need, and I can't wait to see it. I agree. And of course, Nolan B in the chat drops a $5 super chat and says, I think some games should be exclusive and some shouldn't, like Ryse. Should be exclusive to Xbox, and Alan Wake as well. Yeah, I mean, Alan Wake was that's a Microsoft thing. They need to do better with some of their older IPs. I think we're going to see that. Again, for me, I don't care. Just give me Ryse 2, and we're good. Everywhere, listen, folks, thank you so much for being here. I'm not going to give you what my dad taught us growing up because they're really annoying the shit out of me with this buzzing. Have a great day, everyone. We'll see you next week on the newest episode of the Xbox Factor podcast.